evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome back to another PorscheCooled Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things Porsche. I'm coming from, my name is Michael Barth, if you don't know already, coming live from London, back in London. A week ago, I flew from Bahrain to London during the COVID pandemic. I'm currently in isolation. I have 1 week, or a little bit less than 1 week to go. So I've been locked up in the house or locked up in the apartment for the last 10 days. And once again, the other part of PorscheCooled is Steve, and Steve's coming all the way from Australia. We're doing this by Zoom, so if the sound's funny, like I keep saying, please excuse the quality. I think it should be okay, though. It's been okay on the last two podcasts. Hi, Steve.
Or good morning. Or it could be me. It could just be my mumbly, monotone voice.
No, I'm just really fussy with the sound, and I actually have been looking to buy. I think people thought last time that I was saying that I bought a new microphone in the last podcast. I didn't actually buy a new microphone. I bought a microphone stand, which is why I'm talking into it now, and Steve can't actually see my face because the microphone covers my face. The joy of these microphones, Steve's got a lapel mic on, but I have to get my mouth almost like I'm eating the microphone, which is not very comfortable. I find it very uncomfortable, yeah. But I'm not wearing a mask because I'm inside. If I was wearing a mask, it'd be worse. The thing is, I have to say something. It's very weird in the UK, and I don't want to upset any of the UK listeners, but, there's a mandate or I don't know what it is. It's not really a law to wear a mask when you're in shops. And I have had to I can actually go out to get essential food if I need to, if I can't order it. So I have to go down to the shop downstairs, which is called Tesco, to get some things when we run out, like milk or something like that, water. And you're supposed to wear masks. I've got my mask on. No one wears masks in there, and you're supposed to wear masks. It's
Same
very
in
weird.
Sydney, mate.
It's like Sydney.
Same in Sydney, and people look. I walked into our local supermarket after heading up to the doctor. Long story, but went to the local supermarket wearing a mask. I guess I had my hood. It's cold in Sydney, so I had my hoodie on. And the people in the supermarket thought I was going to rob the place.
Well,
it's so bizarre. It's like, you do know that there's like a pandemic going on.
Well, it's quite funny because one of the head concierge in our building here, he said to me, it's a conspiracy. You don't have to wear masks. They don't work. He said it's all rubbish. And I'm saying, but they say that they cut out 50% of the germs. The germs that I might be giving to you. You know what I mean? Like
you're protecting him, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually protecting you. You know what I mean? So I feel like obligated to protect you because I've flown from Bahrain, and apparently Bahrain is a high risk place. But
because
like
we
I
live
said,
in a community.
Yeah. But I understand people don't want to wear masks, but I think it's because having been in Bahrain and living in Bahrain, and living in Bahrain, it's just like people just do it and people don't complain about it. But that's probably because Bahrain is a kingdom. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's like Middle Eastern culture. It's slightly different. But I need to drink some water. But people just wear it and there's no hassle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's same in Sydney. There's a funny kind of weirdness about it. It's become law in Melbourne. There's a lot of stuff going on in the media. I don't know. I blame Donald Trump for being such a dick and basically kind of making people feel that all of a sudden there's this sort of weird uprising. That's probably very polarizing too, so I'll just shut up.
I did notice, though, a lot more cases in Melbourne and Australia, though, isn't there? Melbourne's actually quite out of control based on the...
Well, basically there's, like, I don't know if it's officially like a second wave, but yes, there's another outbreak in Melbourne, and they're kind of closing the borders between states, or they've shut borders between the other states to try to kind of keep it under control.
Yeah, and I think London today as well, they were going to open up a little bit more, and Boris has actually decided to hold back for a bit because it's still too dangerous, I think he said. Something like that. But I have to say, if you're thinking of traveling during this period, is the best time to travel because the airports are empty and the planes are empty. And when you have a plane which is 333, the seat in between is like free. They don't put anyone in the seat, but it doesn't matter anyway because the plane is about, I don't know, a tenth full at the most. You know what I mean? The plane from Bahrain we flew was so empty. So
don't you feel? Did you not feel sort of not scared is a bit melodramatic, but just nervous the whole time, like eating your food and doing a wee, all that sort of stuff.
I didn't eat.
Yeah, there you go.
And I actually got plastic disposable. We got these plastic disposable gloves. So not rubber gloves because it keeps the germs on them. So we just had these cheap plastic ones. So you just put them on and then you throw them away, put them on and throw them away. So if you go to the toilet, I just put them on. I know that sounds a bit, probably a little bit crazy for some people listening to this, but you know, I think, like I said, it's from being in Bahrain, we just got used to doing these things. So we just kept doing them.
Yeah, right.
So that's about it. Anyway, enough of coronavirus. Let's get back on to Porsche. Yeah. Steve actually just made a very good point before we started this podcast when we were chatting that I get a lot of people, and Steve's getting a lot of people following him as well. A lot more people following him on his Instagram, GT Steve.
Which I have to say is there's no point in doing that because I don't post much, so nothing to see here.
But if you keep following Steve, he'll put more pictures up. So you just keep following him. Get him to like 500 followers, and then he'll definitely put some photos up. But a lot of people send me DMs. Most people I actually do respond to. In fact, I think everyone I respond to. I hope I do respond to everyone. But a lot of people who have listened to the podcast, who have enjoyed the podcast, and who have asked questions about things we've spoken about in the podcast. So maybe at the beginning of each episode, each week, like I said, I'd like to do 2 podcasts a week, but I have to get Steve organized to do that, so I'm not sure if he's if he's up for 2.
I'm here, aren't I?
But we're doing one at the moment.
4:30 in the morning.
It's 4:30 in the morning in Sydney. But I think what we'll do is maybe we should come back to some of the topics and just relive them and things we've talked about because during the week, actually 2 days ago, I'll let Steve talk about his thing in a minute, but I'll just keep talking. 2 days ago, I had a message from Design LS, which is in the UK, which someone asked me who it was the other day on Instagram. So I don't know why I don't say the company name, but it's called Design LS. And my leather parts, I posted them on the Instagram. They're probably gone already because they're on a story. But my parts are in process. They look like, I think he's done 2 things and he's in the process of doing the other 3 things. He forgot about one thing.
That look really good.
But the quality looks really, really good. But I was going to ask you one thing, Steve, actually, because you know I got the leather inner door sills done, the same as what Steve has, and Steve got his done through Exclusive Option, which is in the US, which does a really good job too. Porsche stitching, Porsche leather. But Design LS is actually a lot cheaper in the UK. Their prices are his prices. Hopefully, doesn't listen to this podcast, but his prices are very low compared to Exclusive Option. My inner door sill, when I looked at the picture that he sent me, it looks like it's got Alcantara inside the passenger side sill. Now, this is what I find really odd because I said to Tasha, because the passenger side is obviously her side, Natasha, my wife, and that's where the Porsche umbrella is. And I said, as far as I remember, there is no Alcantara in the inside of that inner sill, right?
You mean in the factory part or?
Yeah, the factory part. The factory part. So I don't know. I mean, he supplied the parts, right? The door sill plastic part, he supplied the part. Now, did he put Alcantara in the inside? I haven't asked him, but I wonder, did he, or is there some 997s, turbos, etc., that if it's from a different model, higher level up model, that it actually has Alcantara in the inside? Because I can see the rubber. Because in the photo, I can see the rubber strip. Did you see that in the image, Steve? I can see the rubber strip.
No, I didn't.
See the rubber strip, and then there's it's Alcantara lined. And I know I know my car does not have Alcantara lined. I know that for sure.
I reckon it's because I'll stick my neck out. I reckon it's because Linus is good. He's a craftsman and he's detail oriented and stuff. And I bet you he's just put Alcantara in there. From memory, I think mine's all leather, but it's got the little rubber insert, the little liner thing that you just kind of put down. Yeah,
and that's what I think. When I looked at Exclusive Option, and this is me getting paranoid and upset about little things like I do, fine details. I looked at the one on Exclusive Option, and Exclusive Option is all leather inside. And I'm thinking, But then again, I look at the Exclusive Options price for the inner door sills, and I look at what Design LS Linus has actually charged, and I can't be upset about it because it's a hell of a lot less money. I mean, Exclusive Option is $1,300 US for the inner door sills now. $1,300 US.
Yikes!
So that's probably 3 times the amount I'm paying.
Mm-hmm. It looks good. the photo that you sent me of what Linus has done to me looks pretty good.
And then Steve got me all worried about the stitching because he said it looked too white. So then I was like searching through all my photos of my car's stitching to make sure it wasn't.
I'm just mixing with you. It's okay.
But I think it's fine because the factory part, which is the console lid that I got from Suncoast, the stitching's the same. And then I looked at the blades as well. I had a picture of the blades. I didn't send it to you. And it looks pretty much the same. I think it's the same color. I mean, he said it was factory stitched, so I guess I have to believe him, right?
Of course. No, he'll know. And to be honest, I think I said it to you when we were having this weird message conversation was because John from Pro Stitch looked after me recently with the door pulls and the console lid. We were standing at the car.
But where is Pro Stitch? Is in Sydney? Tell people where it is.
Yeah, Pro Stitch is in Sydney. Okay. So anybody local in Australia, John's unreal. So check him out. But there's, I think, 3 different coloured stitches in a standard GT3. Like the stitch with the Alcantara is a different colour to the leather to some other bits and pieces. So it's not really until you start kind of, getting a sample out and lining it up against different bits that you start to realise that things don't necessarily 100% match anyway.
But some of the pieces you have charcoal stitching, don't they?
Well, that's what I thought.
Or black stitching.
So the standard leather is not pitch black. It's sort of like a very dark anthracite colour. And it's got deviated stitching, which is lighter. It's sort of like a silvery colour. Same with the Alcantara. It's not black. It's sort of like a dark grey. But you just start to notice when you look at everything, you scrutinise it properly, they're actually all slightly different shades of something. And that's the factory part, the factory bits, not the bits that I've added on. So
yeah. So tell us about, what episode was it? A couple of episodes ago, we talked about making your Porsche 911 sound better or 997 sound better. I can't remember the exact title.
About exhaust?
Yeah. So your exhaust, how has it been in the last couple of weeks since you've been driving around in your GT3?
It's been awesome. It's been really good. I was really worried that it was just like way too obnoxious and like I've just read some stuff where people kind of went, way too loud. I took it off after 2 days because it made my ears ring. I don't think I'm that boy racer that I'm not that sensitive. I think basically what's happened is this mysterious, what everybody says, you get like your exhaust has carbon buildup and changes the tones. So everybody says you get a brand new exhaust, you've got to give it a little while to carbon up. I think that's what's going on. It's mellowed. It's actually not as loud, not as kind of, all the sort of sharper tones have kind of disappeared. When I first was driving around with it, I was driving with the valves closed. Now I'm driving with the valves open, believe it or not.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. So enjoying it. It's really good.
I have to admit that it's a carbon build-up, isn't it? Because I remember when I got the Pfister exhaust and it was fitted by Autohouse, and I remember sending Darren Pfister an email about it because like there was this really odd smell from the rear of the car. I don't know if you remember this. Like I said, I sent him a message and I said, Darren, email, there's a really bad smell. And he said, oh, that's normal. That's due to the ceramic coating or something. And I think he said the same, like the pipe that he welds in, when that starts to get carbon buildup, the sound will change slightly. And I think it actually did. I think at the time it did. I think it sounded a bit hollow and then it got a little bit deeper. But I have to say, I did watch James at Auto Amateur's video the other day where he was putting his car on the truck, his Project 996 car on his truck, and they started it up. And they've just put the Pfister on it in the same ceramic black velvet black finish that I have on my car. I mean, it's great to get the ceramic finish because of the heat. A lot of people say it does reduce a lot of the heat and your rear fan doesn't come on as much. But you never see the color, you know what I mean? You never see the coating, so unless you get underneath the car. But then they started the car up, and I thought, man, like, I'm a fan of Pfister. I'm a fan of FD Motorsports and Darren Pfister's exhaust, but he started it up in that video and, man, it really did sound, the Pfister exhaust does really sound good. It sounded great on the 996 as well. I don't know if you saw that video, but it was...
no, I didn't.
It looked really good.
Your car sounds unreal. I keep saying it. From the outside on startup, like I watch your videos or when we're kind of catching up in person going for a drive and you turn your car over, or even if I'm following you, even though like my exhaust is quite loud, if I'm following you down a twisty road on a fun drive, I can hear your car. It sounds really good, really good.
I have to say the thing I enjoy the most is when when I drive out of my car spot in Sydney, out of the car space, or when I'm reversing back, or when I'm reversing back into it. You know what I mean? Like the sound you hear. It's actually when you got the window down. It sounds really good when you just take off, or when you just even in cold start. It sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So that's just a bit of a refresh. I don't think there was anything else to refresh on. I said, Steve and I have had, well, I know I have, and I think Steve's had a couple, but I've had a lot of comments from people. So we'll keep answering that, and we'll probably touch on it in each, in the following episode if there's any like questions. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything you want us to like expand on in this podcast, just send me a DM or send Steve a DM to his Instagram. The link is in the description of this podcast. It should show up on Apple. It's usually always jumbled. I try to sort it out. I try to like set out the text all properly, but Apple seems to jumble it up. But it's not just me. I've noticed they do it on other people's podcasts as well. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there. I will eventually work it out. But today's podcast, I can't even remember the name of it. What's the name of this podcast, Steve? What's the title? Have we got a title yet?
I don't think we have a title, do we?
No.
You always ask me that afterwards.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's like the joys of Porsche ownership, but that's not going to be the title. Let's call it a working title. But today we thought we'd talk about something that I have had a lot of questions about on my YouTube channel. I think I did a video on it like years ago, but people seem to, other Porsche owners seem to want to know about how you look after your 911, what products you use, etc. And I guess, and I'll throw Steve here, because I guess my benefit is that I basically, when I got the 911, when I had my Audi, I stopped washing it for a long time, so I didn't really wash it. And then I got the 911, and then I had to be obsessed with washing it again. So I actually asked Steve, and Steve gave me some products, and he gave me the names of it. And I basically just went to a place in Sydney called Car Care Warehouse and bought all this stuff, which costs a lot of money. But yeah, and I think that's the problem. When you go and buy these products, as we both know, Steve, they cost a lot, but the more expensive products do actually make a difference, don't you think?
I think so, but it can get well out of hand. But yeah, I think generally you kind of get a little bit what you pay for. Remember back in the day, I'm talking like 20 years ago, when there was this sort of magical kind of carnauba wax called Zymol, and it was like $200 or $300 a tin. Everybody else was using Maguire's, and it's like, wow, does this Zymol stuff really work? I have no idea, because I never forked out for it. But relative, for like an everyday person, I'm not a detailer, I'm not a three-stepper, all of that sort of stuff. But I think, like when you kind of get into some of the more talked about brands on Renlist and car forums and stuff like that, I reckon there is actually a difference between that and what you kind of get if you walk into, in Australia, it's called Super Cheap Auto or Autobarn, some of the stuff off the shelf there.
It's like supermarket car wash products, isn't it, really? It's like mainstream supermarkets, those sort of stores, variety stores, or whatever you call them around the world. I was watching something with Magnus Walker, I don't know what it was, something he had up, and he said he doesn't really care about washing his car or detailing that much. He's not really into it. But
look at his hair.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, I think it is a bit of a reflection of your personality as well. But for me...
I was joking.
But for me, right, I actually, and I know I've spoken about this with other people, other Porsche owners in Australia who have spoken to me, that I like washing the car because I find it it's a stress release. You know what I mean? It's very relaxing. You know what I mean? Going down to the garage and washing and waxing the car. And seriously, Steve knows this. I think the maximum time I've spent down there doing it is about 5.5 hours. And that's like washing, waxing the wheels, doing the leather, doing the whole detail.
Not the only one.
And that's a full one. And that's probably, I do that, and I'm probably getting into the storage part of it, but I probably do that. I can hear Steve's baby crying. Okay, we're back. We just had a little bit of a pause there while Steve went and tended to his baby girl, sort of.
You mean sat on my ass and waiting for my wife to do it?
What we're talking about, taking time to clean car, good car products, spending the money. I know a lot of people don't want to spend that much money, but I think Steve and I we're like avid cleaners of our cars, and we would agree that it is worth the money.
People way worse than us, like well worse than us.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't pay anyone to do the car. We both clean and detail our car ourselves. I guess if we had to get a proper, like, what do you call it, paint correction done or stuff like that, you'd get someone to do it, I guess. I probably wouldn't do that myself. But, you know, for me, and I think you're probably the same, Steve, is that washing the car, it's not just about making a car look good, it's also protecting your car. The crappy old Audi that I have in Bahrain, it's never been cleaned or washed or waxed, and it's in Middle East temperature, 50 degrees. I rub my hand on the paint, and every time I do it, I think of you, Steve, and I laugh because I thought Steve would die if he felt the paint, this silver paint. It has no clear coat. It's just rough. There's just like nothing to it. It's just like, it's so beat up. And this is the reason why you wax your car and you look after your car, because you want to keep it in good condition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just, but a lot of that sort of stuff has moved on these days. But like, you're right, I am the same as you. I find it relaxing to kind of, you know, go downstairs and just wash the car every week. Occasionally kind of go further than that and sort of give it a coat of wax or whatever. I polish maybe once a year sort of thing. But even my practices, I think, have moved on quite a bit, because we're now in the days of PPF and ceramic coating and stuff like that. I haven't moved with the times, to be perfectly honest, because we just haven't. I think part of it is because I actually enjoy, as you just sort of said, I actually enjoy kind of giving the car a coat of wax. So just keep doing what I'm doing.
I mean, I know everyone's big on PPF, and I know you said, you know, you don't like the plastic on the paintwork. You'd rather just, you know, to have the paint. I think you said that because the front of my car, the front and the rear bumper has PPF from whoever had it previously. I did say to you the other day, I would actually put PPF on the bonnet. I think I do want to have PPF on the bonnet. I don't necessarily want to have it on the side fenders if I can get around it, but I know when you do the front end, it's like a whole kit. Usually they do with Expel or whatever it is.
Let me qualify that. I had PPF on my 993, so this is, how long ago? I sold it 7 years ago, and I had it for 12 years prior to that. And I had PPF applied to the front and rear bumper because I got sick of everybody kind of bumper parking me in Sydney, and the bonnet. So this is like, must be sort of early days in PPF.
Yep.
It was pretty good, don't get me wrong, but you could still see a little bit of the bubbling underneath it, and the material itself was different to the kind of the top coat, the gloss. So it must be that it's moved on massively. So that's why I kind of go, at the moment, like GT3 has nothing on it, and I'm quite happy not to kind of go there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the quality is obviously, I mean, the technology has got better and better.
Yeah,
but I am going to do it. And I probably will do the front fenders as well, the front end. And I guess I'd probably have to redo the front bumper if I'm putting it on the bonnet, because maybe the front bumper is a different color because it's old. It doesn't seem yellow to me. It seems like it's okay. I don't know how long ago it was put on. There's a few nicks out of it, but you're right on the ceramic coat. Like, everyone's doing PPF, like full PPF, which, you know, I don't know how much it is. I think US, when people talk about it, it's like 8,000 US. It's 8,000 Australian dollars or something, or 8,000 US. Yeah, for a full car, if you do a full car.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, and then if you do a ceramic coating on top of that, you know, it's an expensive exercise. I don't know.
Well, in the
70s and the 80s, people who bought Porsches and Ferraris and supercars, they didn't stick plastic over it. They just drove it and got a bit of patina and, you know, just enjoyed it. I don't know whether watching these guys on YouTube and seeing this PPF and this whole thing about, I can't drive it out in the road yet until I get it PPF'd, and I've got to put it in the back of a truck and transport it until I get it PPF'd. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's a little bit overkill. I think that's a bit too much.
So interestingly, I'm in the same boat as you. That I was about to sort of say, like, there's one step prior to PPF. I think if you then go, hey, I'm going to have my whole car PPF'd, you need the car to be in tip-top condition before you actually kind of wrap it in plastic, which then means getting a paint correction done.
Yes.
And there's another, like, you know, 3 or 4 days of an expert's time, which is in Australia, that's about a 3 or 4 grand exercise, I believe. So once you get the paint correction done, then you kind of wrap it in PPF, then you kind of put ceramic coat on top. And what you just sort of said is exactly my point of view, which is, oh man, like if I go and do all of that to the GT3, I've thought about it a couple of times, and my uncle's prompted me a couple of times. If I went and did that and my car is perfect, I have a feeling that psychologically I just wouldn't want to drive my car because I'd want it to be in that sort of perfect state.
Yeah.
And then the whole idea is that I actually want to enjoy the car. So bizarrely, because I'm quite a fussy person, that's part of the reason why I haven't gone down that path, because I actually would prefer to still have that sort of mindset where if the car's not absolutely perfect, it's pretty good, but it's not dead set perfect. So then it doesn't stop me from kind of going for a drive when I feel like it.
Yeah. And the thing is with PPF, like if you have PPF on, and this is the thing that always worries me about it, even with just getting it done onto the hood or the bonnet, is that if you go for a long drive or you drive it and you do get stone chips, you're still going to see the imperfections in the PPF because it's going to like mark the PPF,
It's
right?
not damaging the paint. Yeah,
it's not damaging the paint, but then if you drive it enough, sure, you're not going to have the patina on your bonnet, but it's going to get to a point where you're going to look at the PPF and go, I can't stand this anymore anyway, I have to put a new lot of PPF on. So it's just a continual cycle where you just keep going down. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And can't you do some kind of painting? I heard something, where did I see it? Maybe it was Rod Emery on a podcast talking about it, where, you know, if you have a car that has like patina on the bonnet and has stone chips, they don't have to spray the whole car. They do some kind of special technique where it's...
Oh, they can fade it in and stuff.
Yeah, some kind of light spray where it's
blend.
just... Sorry, I'm going away from the microphone. Some kind of light spray where it's just sprayed over just to get rid of those chips. There's some kind of...
Good panel guy knows what they're doing. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a full respray that you have to get done, I guess. So, I mean, there's other ways to do it. Anyway, we're getting off the track a bit, but so I'm just going to like Steve. I wash my car every week. I don't wax my car every time I wash it. I probably wax it. I probably put wax on, and sometimes I don't wax the whole car. Sometimes I'll just wax the bonnet and the bumpers. I don't know why. I just do so that there's more protection on that because I know that's where the stones hit. And I still think that wax makes stones slide off. I still think that it actually helps. I don't know if it does, but in my head, I think it does.
Makes you happy.
In my head, I think it does. So I don't, and I'm like Steve, I really don't polish the car that much. I think I've polished sections of the car if I've noticed that it's got scratches, but I don't really polish it that much. And now I actually dry my car with towels. I don't use a chamois anymore. I used to use a chamois, but I never used to drag it across the paintwork. I used to just pat it on the paintwork. But I do use those big waffle towels, not the ones that Nick Murray sells or any YouTubers sell. I actually just buy them from Amazon. So I find the towels really easy to use. I know a lot of people are buying leaf blowers and blowing their car with leaf blowers and their wheels.
Mm-hmm. Which I did, but I've never used.
You never used?
And I think, and it's funny that one's interesting. I bought it because I don't know, I was bored.
You haven't used it?
No, I haven't used it. And what it is that, like, to be perfectly honest with the GT3, is that because I'm doing everything the old school way, which is 2-bucket wash. Sometimes a coat of wax. Every time has a coating of like a detailing spray, like it's either a sealer or a spray wax. I'm obviously kind of touching the surface of the paint like over and over again. So I'm putting like all of those little sort of scratches in the car. The whole blower thing, I'm pretty sure, is only if you had your car paint corrected and somebody kind of made it absolutely pristine. So then the notion is that you don't want to touch it anymore. I'm not at that point because I haven't had my car paint corrected. So the blower thing is a bit silly. But
I like the idea of the blowers for the wheels. I hate how the brakes, like I try to dry my brakes out. I know you have to go for a good dry, but if you don't go far enough and I just try to dry them, going back down to the car space and they stick. I really hate that. I hate it when they stick after you've had the wash. So I know people use those leaf blowers to dry out their brakes so that they don't get, that problem.
Yep.
I guess it works. I don't use, what is it? Not Skyfoam. What is it called? Super foam or whatever it is.
Oh, you're talking like a foam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do what Steve does. I use the 2-bucket method. The buckets that we use are like buckets with the grit guard in the bottom so that the dirt, the grit falls to the bottom so you don't get it in your cloth. And make sure that you always sort of shake out your mitt and make sure it's sort of rinsed out so that everything falls to the bottom of the bucket. I guess you're always going to get some fine scratches. I think it's unavoidable, but you can reduce them.
Yeah.
But
work
back
your
to
top down, different sponge for the wheels, all of that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I always start my wheels first. I always use a different sponge for the wheels. My wheels actually are very. Someone said to me on Instagram actually said, "Oh, the thing about your painted wheels is they're probably already chipped by now, and you have to get them repaired." It's like my wheels have no chips on them. I don't know whether that. I guess that's testament to Chris at XL Wheels in the UK. A good job he did, or that's just how all these wheels are when you get them refurbished. But putting that coating on the wheel, and I've only put it on. I put it on twice actually. I put it on once where I did the whole wheel, which is the Guion that quartz coating that I bought.
Ceramic coat?
Steve, remember?
Yeah.
So
That's a ceramic coat.
yeah, so I did it on the inside of the rim on all the wheels, and I did it on the outside. And I have actually done a second application again where I did put it on, I think a year later just on the outside of the wheel. I didn't actually go on the inside. I just put it on the outside. And that does make the wheels very clean, very easy to clean. And it seems to protect them from brake dust and pitting. And I don't know, it seems to work.
I think it just helps with the brake dust because brake dust is quite corrosive. And then if you go and use, even if you use a good quality wheel cleaner, when you see what that thing sort of does, then they must be doing something to the surface of the paintwork as well. So I did the same. I've got a couple of coats of ceramic coating on the wheels itself, and seems to just look after it. I'm not sure about resisting stones, but
but I bought that wheel cleaner that you use as well, the one you told me about, which is that Ferris Jewel or whatever it's called, Dodo Juice. Dodo Juice is a really good brand. I think it's one of the best. I like their packaging as well. I think it's kind of a cool brand, but I think it's a really good brand. Steve and I both use a product from them called Red Mist, which is not cheap, but I think is one of the best products ever. And that's one of the reasons why I don't wax my car all the time, because you wash your car and then after you've washed it, you spray the red mist on. And it really just brings up the car, like the shine is just amazing. Correct, Steve?
That's one of the sort of detailer sprays that I mentioned before. I'm not sure. See, I'm no like ammo or esoteric or whatever. If you're into all of this sort of stuff, like you're probably kind of looking at us or listening to us going, you guys are Muppets. But
not really. A lot of people like to know the brands, but the brands that we use, and you and I, like I said, because you put me onto these brands, I use pretty much the same ones as you. But we use, brands like Duragloss, which is the wheel, which is the high gloss wheel shine. You told me to do high gloss wheel shine, and I think it looks better than the matte ones. We use Mazerna, which is the polish. Well, that's what I use, which you gave me, and then I bought two since then. So I've obviously been waxing my car a lot if I'm into the third tin. Mazerna, which is a really good wax, very, very good wax.
No, that's the polish, not wax.
Oh, the polish. Oh, polish. Sorry, the polish. That's right, the polish. And then the Colonite, which is the wax, isn't it? Colonite Mark something, I think it's called. I can't remember the full name. Colonite Mark something, Mark 900 or something, or 950.
The blue tin.
Yeah, the blue tin. That's a really, really good wax. Really easy to put on, very easy, just with a foam pad. Steve and I also use, for our plastic, which we use on the inside of the car, is a brand called Next Zet, I think you pronounce it, which is a plastic deep cleaner and a cockpit cleaner. Those things we use inside. I don't use them all the time. I use them on the sill guards. I actually bring the black plastic of my sill guards back to something that's more suitable. My sill guards are a bit sort of beat up, especially on the driver's side. What else, Steve? Oh, the one outside, the 303 one, for the black on the exterior.
For, plastic and rubber bits. 303, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
It's a much better version of Armor All. Don't use Armor All in your car because there's no silicone in it.
Yeah, no, Armor All's terrible. But the 303 stuff that we use, which is the UV stuff, that's good for, your black rubber around your windows, the black rubber seal, because it nourishes the rubber too, so it doesn't dry out and crack. It's good on the 911 on that front plastic bit that's between your windscreen and your bonnet. That's where I use it. I think that's all the only places I use it, actually.
Around the trunk, the frunk.
Yeah.
And the door seals.
Yep.
All that type of thing.
And car shampoo, I use Dodo Juice as well. So Dodo Juice is, like I said, it's not an ad, but I know people like to know these brands. So I use Dodo Juice, which Steve put me onto as well, which is, I think it's called Supernatural car wash, or no, Supernatural shampoo, which is expensive. It is expensive.
I'll add to that. So I've kind of, I don't know why, I just tend to try different things every now and then. I read about a finishing spray called Bead Maker. I think I got onto it maybe from that Matt from Obsessed Garage, which is an equivalent to that Red Mist stuff. I've only just bought it, so I can't quite tell yet whether or not it's any good. But he kept banging on about how the finish, as the name sort of suggests, that that water sort of rolls off the surface of your paint. I have kind of switched between Colonite, wax. This is Canuba wax, so old school, not ceramic stuff. Colonite, I have tried the Dodo Juice Canuba wax as well. They've kind of got different products for light colored cars and dark colored cars and stuff like that. So mine's a white car.
Yeah.
I've used Swiss wax before as well, which is really good, very expensive, but also really, really good. I literally tried Sonax as well, which is a German brand of products. I got onto them because I was trying to find a really good Alcantara cleaner. And everybody that I read about, pretty much Sonax Alcantara cleaner comes up all the time. I've never been able to hunt it down, but I actually tried some of their other stuff, including they've got a wax which I used recently, and that was actually quite good as well. So,
I guess it's lucky for you because both your cars are white, so you don't have to get different polish or different wax for the cars, right?
And you don't have to be honest. It's not like a colored, literally kind of colored wax. It's not like if you put a dark wax designed for a dark colored car that all of a sudden you're kind of messing up your white car. But
yeah. So that's a sort of a overview of what we do to clean our cars, right? I don't think there's anything else, is there? I mean, I always do and I've spoken about this before. I always do a full detail before I put my car in storage, before I leave Sydney. Before I put the cover on it. I always make sure that I've got a Porsche indoor car cover. I also have an outdoor cover, which I bought, which has never been used. I don't know why, I've just never used it, but I always wash it and make sure that's clean. I always make sure the car's completely clean, completely waxed. I make sure the leather's has been cleaned and the leather balm is put onto the seats. What else?
Leather's a tough one, actually. Leather's a tough one to kind of find a product that doesn't make it shiny afterwards.
You know what? I bought that English brand, and I bought it off Amazon UK. Autoglim.
Yeah.
I bought the Autoglim leather cleaner and leather balm, and I have to say I really like it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's as good as the one that you gave me to use, which I think came from Clarence, your upholsterer. You gave me something.
He's got some secret recipe.
And I gave it back. You gave me a lend of it, and I put it on when I first got the car, and it really brought the leather up because the car obviously the previous owner hadn't really cared for the leather so much, even though it was in good condition.
I don't know what that is. Clarence reupholstered my leather. He's done it on multiple cars, and he just gave me a tub of stuff and said, use this. It's one of the very few products that doesn't make your leather kind of go shiny, which I think is almost like the holy grail of trying not to kind of get to that point, which is basically when your bulb rubs against the bolsters and everything, it'll eventually go shiny. So I'm desperately trying for that not to happen. So yeah, I don't know what that is that he's giving me.
Autoglim's not bad. I don't know if you've used it. I actually find it's not that bad.
I've used their waxes and stuff like that before. but not the interior stuff.
Yeah, so what was I saying? When I put it into storage, like I have talked about this before, but tires to maximum pressure. This is another, I guess this is part of detailing. It's part of looking after your car if you are putting your car down for a couple of months. Correct, Steve? I don't use tire cushions because I just don't want to spend the money on them. They're always really expensive, and I just, I read on so many things, and I think Granted Autohouse also said just pump them up to maximum PSI and they'll be fine. And I know some people put them on gym mats, high quality gym mats that they can get from any hardware store, or you put them on very thick carpet or double layers of carpet. People put them on, as well as pumping them up to maximum pressure though. So they kind of do both. But I just pump them up to maximum.
To not get flat spots on the tires, right?
Yeah, so not flat spots. But then you read some things on forums and they say modern tires don't really get flat spots because when you drive them again, the memory, they go back to normal, so they don't stay as a flat spot. I don't know whether that's true or not. I have read it on a few forums. And then, of course, the fuel tank, make sure your fuel is full, not half full or quarter full. Because something happens with the air or something. I'm not exactly sure of the technical reason why, but apparently you're supposed to fill your tank to full. Put it on a trickle charger. Everyone knows the best trickle chargers are C-Tech. C-Tech are also what Porsche use. They just rebranded as with Porsche on it. Of course, the Porsche ones look better because it says Porsche. I've just got the C-Tech one. Which one have you got, Steve? You got the Porsche
sticker
one? Huh?
Yeah, I've got a used Porsche one.
Yeah, I just bought the C-Tech one, which is the same as the Porsche one.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, but the C-Tech chargers are great. They really are great. They really work really well. And it hasn't...
look, I don't... I make sure I drive my car a little bit more regularly, so it probably gets a run like once a week. But a few years ago when I wasn't driving my car every week, I would actually still put it on the trickle charger as well, just to try to keep the battery maintained.
Yeah,
It's a good sort of habit to have. I think what I was going to say, like the 997s have that kind of funny, the curious thing of if you don't drive the car or unlock the car after a set amount of time, I think it's 10 days, is it?
Yes.
The remote key thing doesn't work. You have to...
It's a pain in the ass.
You got to stick the key in the actual door lock and turn it.
And then you've got to stick it in the ignition straight away after that. You're supposed to put it in the call lock, and then you've got to put it straight into the ignition, apparently.
Is that just some sort of low voltage, not draining the battery type function?
Yeah, it's to save the battery. Yeah. I didn't know about that until I came back to the car after a period and I couldn't open it, and I sort of realized what was going on. And that's about it. That's all I do. I know what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to leave your windows down a little bit, but I worry about bugs and rats and things going in the windows, so and then people...
Those nasty miniature rats.
I don't know, homeless people breaking into the garage and using it as a toilet or something, so I don't leave the windows down.
Man, you're turning into Zuckerman.
What else, Steve? Is that enough about cleaning? I think that's enough. We're probably boring people talking about cleaning. People are going, I don't clean my car. What are you talking about? Stop telling me how to clean it.
I bet you, like anybody that listens to your podcast is just as weird and fanatical as you are. And I mean, it's just part of the ownership experience. I think it's actually part of the fun. Like if owning a Porsche and driving one is sort of more akin to a hobby, it's just part of the enjoyment of it. You're kind of getting to know your car. You know every inch of it when you kind of when you're waxing and polishing and cleaning. You can figure out where all the scratches are, where the little dents are and stuff like that. You start obsessing a bit, but it's part of the fun of owning it.
True. It is. You notice everything.
Maybe one little thing to add, which is a slightly different topic, is so in my 997.1 GT3, I had the lift kit installed. So when you're talking about ownership...
Oh, yeah. What's the brand of that? Tell everyone the brand of that kit.
It's a TechArt lift kit. And it's interesting. So like with a lot of... Oh, actually not. I think 997.1's never had lift kits.
Can I interrupt? Can you fit that to any 997 or just the GT3?
Yes, you can.
Any 997. So anything that's lowered or you're hitting gutters a lot, you can get this aftermarket lift kit.
Yep. And it's not cheap. So I went down this path because 997.1 never came as factory. And I don't know what it is. Like you read things on forums where a lot of people rubbish the factory lift, the lift kit. It apparently fails all the time, and people we're constantly changing it under warranty. Then the warranty kind of goes, and it's very expensive to kind of have it replaced. So when you start reading advice, like if you're looking for a GT3, people kind of go, oh, avoid the one with the lift kit. Now, for me personally in Sydney, there's no way that you could have no lift kit. I mean, I know that the front lip, the little black spoiler that is detachable at the front of the car, it's a consumable item, like you scratch the hell out of it within, days of like owning the car. But I'd be changing that every couple of weeks if I didn't have a lift kit. So I opted to kind of fit this Tech Art kit. And I just sort of thought it was one of those things that might be interesting enough to kind of hear just in terms of as an ownership experience. In Sydney driveways, it's not so much speed humps, it's more Sydney driveways, like to navigate like shopping centres and personal homes and stuff like that. You need the lift kit to get up and out.
But how do you operate it in your car if it's an aftermarket one?
It's a very seamless, it's very well thought out. I think in a factory car, the button is down like near the gear shifter, around there somewhere. There's a switch there. The Tech Art kit gives you like a factory looking button that is up near your above your head where the interior light switches are, and if you had a sunroof.
Oh, right. They put it in there.
Yeah, so there's a button and it's like, it looks factory. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Okay.
I did the research on the kit, and Granted Auto House fitted it for me at the time. I don't think he'd done one before, but he did compliment it and sort of said to me it's very well made. And I think from memory, I can't remember, I think it might be hydraulic. So he
How much
sort of
was
said
it?
like, oh geez, like, so I must have installed it maybe within 6 months of buying the car. So it's now that makes it 6 years old, 5 years old. Back in those days, I think it was less than $4,000 for the actual part itself. And then it was a good 6 hours to install it. And I think it basically...
So 6 hours at $150 an hour. So another $1,000 Australian to install it around about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's about 5,000 Australian, which is about, I don't know, 4,000 US or something.
And actually, I should add to that, I did actually have an issue with it. It wouldn't stay up, and then Tech Art sent me out a new chip because they sort of thought something was wrong with that. Even now, it doesn't necessarily stay up all the time, but, and I just couldn't be bothered going back to them, trying to sort of figure it out because it costs me money in labour every time they want me to kind of change something.
So it works okay or not really?
Well, it functions well enough for me to kind of navigate the things that I need to navigate. I know how it works.
So would you recommend it to someone else?
Yes, I would. I don't know if there's I actually don't know what the other brands are. There's probably like a car graphic one as well. But it was just interesting because the car's low. It definitely does scrape. And I don't know how people that sort of say that you don't need it get around. Seems like a necessity to me.
I mean, this is the reason why, and we've touched on this before, I know, but I still find my car is probably just a fraction too low. Not just a fraction, because it does actually scrape and it's hard to get out of the garage and stuff like that. Which is why I was saying to you, I want to get the Bilsteins, and hopefully I can the Bilstein Pro Sport kit, whatever it is, I can't remember the name of it now. But just to actually give it a little bit, just to raise it up just a fraction, not a lot, just a smidge. You know what I mean? Just
to get out of the drive, yeah.
Yeah, just a smidge so it doesn't bottom out. And when we're doing the back roads, when we're doing the twisty roads, when we're driving the country roads, when I'm following Steve or he's following me, like we do actually bottom out. Like you actually do hear it in parts of the road,
you
right?
Can hear it,
Even my car, like it bottoms out. Like if you're going fast enough, which we're not breaking the speed limit, of course, but it does actually bottom out.
I think ride height-wise, your car is pretty much the same ride height. I think it's actually probably lower than mine. I had mine lifted a tiny bit.
I think mine's lower than yours. I think it needs to be a smidge. It's a tiny bit higher. But
the reason why I have issues driving around Sydney is more because the front spoiler, that black plastic spoiler that clips onto the front of your bumper, is really, really low. And another little hack, if anybody is interested, Once that thing gets kind of completely scratched up, which it will inevitably, use Plastidip, black Plastidip. You just black kind of plastic spray paint that you just there's no point trying to use shoe polish. There's no point trying to sand it out, all of that type of stuff. Just use black Plastidip and occasionally kind of refurbish your thing by sort of, it's like spray paint, but it's a sort of rubbery kind of plasticky type coating, and it works really well.
I heard them talking on Spike's Car Radio, actually. I heard Spike saying that about his GT2 RS. I'm sure other people heard that episode, where he said it, you know you can replace it and you know it gets scratched, but when it gets scratched, you just want to replace it because it just doesn't look right anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Depends on your degree of obsessiveness. But like literally, if you start to get that obsessive, you're going to be spending like, I think the front spoiler lips are about $200 a pop now. They used to be about $130.
It's not throwaway money. It's still money. It still costs.
That's what I was about to say, because you'll scratch it pretty much every third time you go out, where you encounter a driveway or a bump that you didn't quite realize was that low.
But I think the new 992, though, that new lift system is pretty cool. That's on the Porsche Turbo S, the one that's done by GPS. So it remembers when it has to come up and down. So it'll actually remember your driveway. It'll remember parts of the road, and it's based on the GPS. It'll know.
Yep.
So you won't actually have to put it up at every speed hump in your local area or your neighborhood. It will remember it and go up based on the GPS, which is really, I think, out of all the technology that's coming out at the moment, forget about, these different cruise controls. And I don't know, all these cruise controls they put on the new 992s, I hate how you see that big, that big circle laser. Yeah, like I just think it makes it really ugly. But I think that I don't really need that. But I find that the automatic lift system, whatever they call it, Porsche's given some special name to it, as they always do. I think that's a really, really good usable piece of technology. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, cool.
And it should be standard on every 911, really. Any sort of GT 911, true?
Yeah. Well, like I said, maybe the thing that I was saying before about 997 factory lift kits, maybe that was probably one of the first Porsches that had that system fitted. So it's probably improved quite a bit now. I'm guessing that a 992 or a 991 lift kit would be much, much better in terms of more durable, etc., and quicker as well.
It's definitely a necessity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Have you bought we were going to talk about something else today, but I think we're actually almost at time.
Yeah,
don't you think? I think we're at about 50 minutes, 55 minutes. We usually do it for about under an hour. We were going to talk
conversation with me normally lasts about 3 minutes. So I don't know how this whole thing's going.
Steve and I were going to talk more about Porsche ownership, more about what it's like to own a Porsche, but we might do that in another episode. We might save that. We don't want to use up all our stories in one episode. Have you bought? I meant to ask you this, Steve. Have you subscribed to 000 magazine yet?
I have not, because I'm a tight ass and work is slow at the moment. So I'm trying not to spend money. Why did you?
I didn't know, but we were talking about it on the last episode, and Nick in the UK, who I talked to, who's another 997 owner, he did it after hearing it in our podcast. He said it was a very expensive podcast. So we actually, he can tell us how good it is when he gets it, because I'm not a subscriber either.
It looks good. I mean, I've seen, I've jumped on the website many times.
It's not that expensive.
It is when you live in Australia. I think if you look at the rest of the world shipping costs, it's quite dear.
Oh, really? I think it's €250 or something like that.
You're a wealthier man than me.
For 4 episodes. four. I bought the Houdinki magazine, and when I purchased it, I thought, it's only 38. It's only 38. It's like $38 US. It's like quite a lot of money for a magazine, isn't it, really? Because it still is a magazine.
It's a keepsake, though. Like, I'm about to contradict myself. Like, the physical cost of the actual product itself, and like you being sort of related to that sort of industry in terms of creative, like the amount of time and labor and all of that sort of stuff that goes into making something like photography and the craft of whatever. Like, both you and I understand all of that. It's probably just more the cost of shipping that is the bit that sort of hurts a little bit more.
True.
I don't begrudge anybody the cost of making something like that, because so much time and energy goes into it.
So I bought a couple of little things this week. I bought a sticker for the side window of the 911 from eBay. from a seller in Germany that I bought from before, an actual genuine Porsche Martini sticker, side window sticker. It's a long one, which is cool. Then I bought I actually didn't tell you about this before. I bought some other stickers from my favorite site for the name. I think the name is great, from I Say Ding Dong. I Say Ding Dong. That's the name of the site. If you know what I'm talking about, it's a sticker site. They have lots and lots of stickers. They have your Pegasus, Steve. They have Heuer stickers, Hoyer stickers. They have so many stickers, all different sizes. So I actually bought a couple of stickers from there. I actually made a mistake. I actually made a mistake in the order and didn't clear my cart when I was doing it. So I ordered too many. So I'll actually give some to you.
Well, the Pegasus thing that you're referring to, I was horsing around. I got my guy in, what is it, Autographic in Sydney for decals. I bought a couple of those really old Mobile One, the Pegasus icon stickers that they used to stick on the Outlaw cars. I think they'd put it on the Heritage, the Speedster Heritage thing.
I bought a small version of it.
Well, I was inspired by that, so I ordered a set. I had them on the car for maybe the last month, and I got sick of it, so I peeled it off. Cindy, my wife, referred to it as the fairy on the side of your car.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus Walker always has it on his, and I notice a lot of the guys with the Outlaw 911s have it on Instagram. I bought a couple of little ones, which will go on the side windows. I don't know why I've got this thing about just a couple, and then I got the Heuer Hoyer one. I should have bought from I Say Ding Dong. I love that word. I Say Ding Dong. I should have bought the Golf. The Golf stickers are quite good that he has, the original sort of Golf style stickers. And they're really cheap. They're like £2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, and that's why despite what my wife thinks, it's if you're just fooling around with it, you can put it on, and then if it lasts a week and then you peel it off again, that's no big deal.
Unfortunately, the Martini sticker I bought on eBay was not so cheap. It actually was a lot more expensive for some reason, and it's only small, but I bought it anyway. Crazy.
Are you still rethinking the decals, the side stripe, and replacing that?
I was actually looking at his site yesterday, Carrera Decals, who became Ren Decals, which is Chris. I noticed on the Facebook page that people said they've been trying to contact him and he wasn't responding. So I don't know whether is he still actually operating?
I don't know. I bought some stuff from him once, but it wasn't his fault. It kind of got lost in transit, I think. And the price was comparable to my guy here. What's his name again? The Autographic guy. So
I think the last time I bought it from Ren Decals, which is Carrera Decals, when I bought it was $45 US for mine, for the two-tone. I found another site, actually. I found another site, which is a .com site, which is AASE sales.com.
Right.
And they have a whole lot of stickers as well. They have if you've got a vintage 911 and you need all the engine stickers, they have them. And they have all the, the Porsche winning Le Mans stickers. And they have a lot of stickers, but I think they're in the US.
I think Carbone do the same sort of stuff as well. I think that's where their business originated.
They do. I Say Ding Dong, I bought them only because he's in the UK and he sent them already, and the shipping was only £1 and the stickers weren't that much. You know what I mean? So it was easy. So I thought I better make use of it when I'm in London to actually buy these things from the UK.
And so what else is on the hit list while you're in the UK?
What else did I buy? I bought a trim tool kit from Amazon UK, which came today. But it's much bigger than yours. It's in this foldable thing. It's 11-piece trim tool kit.
I've got one of those as well.
Yeah, so I bought one of those. It's good. It arrived today. It's in a box. I love those things. It was £11. It was cheap. So just to do my trim. And that's all I bought. I'm still deciding what to do with the seals. I might do the stainless steel seals. I think I still want them. I'm just worried how scratched up they'll get, but I think I'll still do them.
You're so careful. The thing's not going to get marked at all. It's going to be, like I sort of said to you, I reckon I put stainless seals on the 993, and I'm relatively careful too. It's like getting a couple of scratches on the back of your watch band sort of thing on clasp. Yeah. It's not that full on. So
I mean, I like how they look. I do like how they look. Yep. Is that it, mate? I think that's it for today.
Yeah, sure.
If you had enough, because you've got other things to do. It's Saturday in Sydney, the weekend. London is summer. It was very hot today, so I'm sweating in this room. I had to turn the air conditioning off so it doesn't pick it up in the microphone. So I need to get
What are you guys doing today? Oh, you're housebound.
Evening, we're housebound. We're housebound till Wednesday morning. We are being law-abiding visitors to the UK.
And then what are you going to do once you're not bound?
Probably the same thing we're doing now. Probably just stay.
Shopping online.
We have actually been doing a lot of shopping, but I shouldn't talk about that. We have actually been buying things. I also contacted, I know this is not about watches, but I did actually contact Harrods yesterday. I haven't yet heard back from them. And I contacted them because a guy called Hans, who I speak to on Facebook, he bought one last October from Harrods, and he gave me the name of the guy to email directly or talk to directly at Harrods. So because I can't leave the house...
The Tudor green bezel?
Yeah, the Tudor green.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'll just see if they've got it. If they've got it, because, I don't know why. It's not that expensive. 2,850 pounds, so it's not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
What I really want is a Rolex Explorer 2 blackface, but...
Well, I can see a purchase coming on in your near future.
Speaking of watches, before we go, I have the best mod that you haven't done to your car yet. And they do it on old 912s and old 911s, where they get the two Hoya stopwatches and they're on like a panel and they're on your dash, like locked to your dash, so you can time your start and stop.
They look cool.
You don't need your chronograph. What is that called? What do they call that again?
Sports chrono.
Sports chrono. You don't need the sports chrono. You get actual Hoya proper manual, analog.
Those things look really cool in those vintage cars.
They look great on the old 911. You see them on the plate.
They're so expensive though. I think Carbone have them as well. I've looked at them on eBay just for the actual kind of watch bit, and the old kind of historic vintage things, which no doubt have just been refurbished. I'm sure it's very simple when it comes from a watchmaking point of view, but they're so dear for what they are.
Are they?
Cool though. Cool as all hell. Yeah.
Anything else before we go, Steve?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. Then I think we'll end the podcast today. Thanks for listening. You know where you can find this podcast because you're listening to it now, but it's everywhere. It is everywhere. If you're listening to this on Spotify and you want to listen to it on Apple... It's like a virus. It is. If you're listening to it on Spotify and you want to listen to it on Apple, it's on Apple. Apple's the best place to listen to it. It's also on iHeartRadio. It's also on everywhere. It's literally everywhere. I've actually put it on a new one this week. I actually added it to one where it wasn't, which is Pandora. Pandora now take podcasts. So now it'll also be the Apple stream or Podbean stream that I have will go to Pandora as well. So it's literally now everywhere. You cannot miss it. So that's it.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
No worries. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks for listening. This is the PorscheCooled Podcast. I'm Michael Barth. That was Steve. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.